A look ahead at 5 exciting price charts with Derick Tan, who's been an active trader and investor in stocks and commodities, bonds, even the property market since way back 1999. Apart from fundamental analysis and technical analysis, Derick also has been sharing with us insights into cycle analysis, meant to improve your understanding of winning investment asset classes. Derick is the founder and CEO of Timing and You, and he provides global asset strategies and investment ideas for high net worth individuals in China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Vietnam, here in Singapore, of course. And he's been the invited trainer and speaker for NASDAQ, which he'll continue to do into next year, he tells me. Today, we're looking at the price charts of Bitcoin, Coinbase, HubSpot, Fastly, and Olam. First up, good morning, Derick. How are you?
Good morning, Michelle. It's great to be up on Money FM again to share my views about. I think today everyone is very excited about Bitcoin, the launch of the Bitcoin future ETF.
Oh,
There's
you're
getting
absolutely
a
right.
lot of people excited. Yeah, we'll look
Yeah,
at that as well.
in fact, we're going to start with that. So, ProShares
Yes.
Bitcoin Strategy ETF, ticker BITO, BITO. It begins trading tonight. The Securities and Exchange Commission is actually facing deadlines for applications from Van Eck and Valkyrie this month as well. The
Yes.
SEC not expected to likely block these products that could start to trade really soon. So the ProShares ETF will provide exposure to Bitcoin futures contracts, and those are
Yes.
agreements to buy or sell the asset later for an agreed upon price rather than Bitcoin itself. Now, while
Yes.
there is strong demand for the new asset, financial advisors have been urging caution before adding Bitcoin future ETFs to portfolios. On a side note, the would-be Bitcoin exchange traded fund issuer Invesco is actually pulling out of the race to issue a Bitcoin futures product, and it said that it will continue to focus on actually launching a physical Bitcoin ETF.
Mm.
Now, in the backdrop of this, Bitcoin has rallied about 40% this month in anticipation that the approval of this ETF will lead to greater acceptance, investor acceptance of this digital currency. And we actually had an analyst join us last week who shared how he believed that China really dropping out of the crypto race has actually
Yeah.
strengthened Bitcoin. So we're going to
Yes.
talk about all that in a while. But before we look at Bitcoin's price chart ahead of tonight's ETF launch, I want to ask you, Derick, what are your thoughts on the expected performance of this ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF?
Okay. Maybe before we go into that, probably I can give all of us a overview of actually what is a Bitcoin futures ETF. What's the
Sure.
difference between this and a Bitcoin ETF? I think to understand the difference is really important because tonight what is going to be launched is actually a Bitcoin futures ETF. All right. So as you all can see on the slides, Bitcoin future ETF is actually an ETF that allows people to gain investment exposure to Bitcoin prices without having to go out and buy the cryptocurrency directly. So the main difference between Bitcoin ETF and Bitcoin future ETF is that a Bitcoin ETF directly tracks the price of Bitcoin, whereas what is going to be launched tonight is actually a Bitcoin future ETF that tracks the price of Bitcoin futures contract. This That's the main difference. A second difference is Bitcoin ETF are actually backed by Bitcoin. When you purchase a share of a Bitcoin ETF, the fund will actually purchase Bitcoin to hold in reserve. On the other hand, Bitcoin futures are backed by front month future contracts that are roll over every month until they expire. So to SEC, they believe that a Bitcoin future based ETF could be structured using the Investment Company Act 1940, which normally regulates the future and closed ended funds. This will provide a number of consumer protections that will not cover Bitcoin ETF, making them a more safer option for investors. That's why they are allowing the trading of the Bitcoin future ETF at the very start rather than Bitcoin ETF itself. All right.
Hmm. Great
Yeah.
primer there.
Yeah. So probably after this we can look at the price chart of Bitcoin. This is a long-term price chart of Bitcoin. We can see that Bitcoin actually hit a high around 20,000 USD towards the end of 2017. After which it took about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 3 years to build a base. after it broke out from this 20,000, it went to as high as 65,000 around April this year. Then it pulled back until July around 30,000. Now we are probably looking at Bitcoin at around maybe 61, 62,000. Also, this is what has happened to Bitcoin for the last several years. But like what Michelle has mentioned, I specialize in cycle analysis. So actually, Bitcoin has a 4 years cycle. Let's look at this 2014 to 2017 cycle, which is over here. All right. So if you
And
look
just for
at
the
it,
listener, I just want to say that we are now looking at price charts directly, the actual charts with Derick, which we will put up for you on YouTube as well. So bear with us right now. You're listening to this, and it might be a little bit difficult to follow, but you will be able to get to see these charts that Derick is putting up as well on YouTube later today.
yes. All
Go
right.
ahead. Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway, for Bitcoin, it has a 4 year cycle. On average, it's about 320 days. So there's a bearish year, neutral year, bullish year, and a parabolic year. All right. So I think based on what I see is we are probably here right now between bullish year and the parabolic year. Then when will we actually probably go into a parabolic phase? This is the closing zoom in view of Bitcoin. Also, uh, there's a strong resistance at this red circle over here, which is about 65,000. As you all can see, there's a blue circle over here. There's a support at around 30,000. All right. So, as I was saying, I mean, we are near to this 65,000 resistance over here, all time high, in fact. Also, tonight, with the so called launching of the Bitcoin future ETF, I
Mhm.
believe that probably there's going to be a buy on rumors, sell on news scenario. That means we probably may see a pullback, but later on, if Bitcoin has enough strength and momentum to break above this 65,000 all-time high, we may uh, we may have a chance to see Bitcoin going higher, probably towards a price objective of around maybe 100,000 price objective. How do I come out with the 100,000? Is I
Mm.
take 65,000 minus the 30,000 support, which is the debt is about 35,000. I add on to the 65,000 resistance, so 65,000 plus 30,000, that's 35,000. That's about probably around 100,000. So I'm looking at
Mm.
if Bitcoin can break above 65,000, we may have a chance to see it rally higher towards 100,000. All right.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Fantastic. Now, it's interesting that you started by explaining to us what a Bitcoin futures ETF is. Another way to invest, people have been wondering if I don't want to buy physical Bitcoin,
Mm,
how else can I invest in the cryptocurrency markets? And one way of doing that is to invest in an exchange like Coinbase.
yes,
That's an American
correct.
company that operates a crypto exchange platform, and it generates most of its revenue from trading volume. So it doesn't really matter if prices of cryptocurrencies go up and down. So as long as it's verified users, more than 68 million are buying and selling. So let's look at Coinbase then and how it's doing in against this backdrop of expectations for a Bitcoin futures ETF to launch tonight. It hit an all-time high of more than $400 per share the very first day the company was public, remember? But the stock
Yes.
fell shortly after, and some say, hey, what has it done since? So share your
Okay.
chart. What has it done?
All right. So this is a chart of Coinbase. Yes, it was listed around probably mid of April this year, with a high of around 430 USD. So it came down. It corrected together with the price of Bitcoin, and it has been consolidating since then, since around May until right
Mm,
now. If you zoom in to the right hand side of the chart, we can see
mm,
that yes, Coinbase has rallied, especially for the last three trading days, quite strongly. So in fact, Coinbase is at a resistance right now, which is where the red circle is.
mhm,
The price, the resistance is around 294 US dollar. All right. So my take is this: if Coinbase later on if it's able to break above this 294 rate circle resistance, all right, it may have a chance to go higher. All right. One of the price objective is, for example, if you all look over here, there's this A, B, and C, right? So
Mm-hmm.
because based on my analysis, I realized how strong a rally will actually based on the strength of the first wave structure. So as we can see, A over here is about 224.51. B over here is about 263.19. C here is about 244.56. So what I do is I take B minus A times my proprietary DD7 golden number of 3.5. Then I add on to C. So a possible price objective will be where the orange circle is, which is around 663. And coincidentally, that is where the so-called the opening price when so-called Coinbase first went IPO in April
Mm-hmm.
this year. All right, so that is around 380. All right, that's where the orange circle is. There's if so-called Coinbase has further bullish momentum to go higher, it
Mm-hmm.
may have a chance to rally towards its April high of this yellow circle over here, which is around 430. All this scenario will happen if so-called Coinbase can break up above this red color resistance of around 294. We will need to look at that after the so-called listing of the Bitcoin future ETF. All right.
So I have to see whether Coinbase is making the moves to drive long-term growth towards that point.
Yes.
At the launch of its ETF. That's where we saw it. All right, let's move next to HubSpot. Now, the reason we're looking at HubSpot is for the longest time, we've been talking about investing in companies driving technological change, right? But I wanted to look at
Yes.
companies that are not necessarily your $1 trillion market cap blue chip stocks. What about some other companies? Where else can we look? So if we look at HubSpot, it's an American developer, maker, marketeer of software products for customer service, inbound marketing, sales as well. It is going to be reporting its results for the period November 3rd. So that's coming up. And some say if you're a value oriented investor, it's worth a look because in its second quarter, revenue grew some 53% year on year.
Mm.
But bear in mind the company is still unprofitable. It is scrambling to increase its market share. What does it do? It helps customers find businesses with a strategy that revolves around brand awareness, marketing, automation, and it's actually adding to its large and growing ecosystem. So that's why I thought it'd be interesting. What do you see when you look at HubSpot's chart? Wow, that's a beautiful chart, I have to
Yeah.
say.
So this is the price chart of HubSpot. It was listed towards the later part of 2014, and we can
Hmm.
see from the chart is a nice uptrending chart. In fact,
Beautiful.
it is at a historical all-time high right now. All right. So let's zoom in and take a look closer at the HubSpot. So
Hmm.
last week it has a strong rally. Then it has been so-called taking a rest, consolidating. Technically, based on what we see on the price chart, if HubSpot can break above this red circle resistance over here, all right, which is about 817.33, all right, we may have a chance to see HubSpot go higher from there. So the resistance level to look at will be the red color over there, which is around 817.33. All right, so that is going to be a so-called ceiling. Once broken, we may see HubSpot going higher, probably in anticipation of its result, like what Michelle mentioned on the 3rd of November. All right, so then how high possibly can HubSpot go? All right, if we can look at it, there's a base built between the blue circle and the green circle. If we were to take the depth of the base built, all right, the blue circle is around 736.15. The green circle is where the support is around 622.04. So if you were to project the depth of this base up onto the resistance of the blue circle, we may be looking at a price objective around $850 US dollar. All right, so that could be one of the price objective. If we go back a bit earlier, we can actually
Mm-hmm.
see that Hubspot actually display what we call a ascending triangle chart pattern. That means it's having a so-called higher low while its resistance remain around this horizontal resistance. So there's this ascending so-called triangle chart pattern. It broke out, so it threw back, then it continues to go up. So based on this so-called ascending triangle, where the resistance is at the purple circle, that's around 574.83. And the support we do see here is at the gray circle, which is around 415.42. So if we were to take the depth of the ascending triangle, which is 574.83 minus 415.42, all right, we multiply with a multiple of 2 times,
Mm-hmm.
we may have a price objective of around 893. All right, so all this scenario happen if HubSpot can break above the red color resistance of 817.33. We may see go higher towards a price objective of 850 or even a bit higher to 893 based on technical charts. All right.
All right, let's look at where HubSpot is trading today. Last traded at, yesterday, $803 US dollars. So that's where
Yes.
HubSpot is currently. All right, let's turn to another tech share that may be of interest to value investors. Fastly is a global content delivery network. It makes apps, it makes the internet itself faster, and aims to make the internet more reliable and more secure. So, following the last quarter's worse than expected results, investors are closely watching its computing update. What it can release to investors November, I believe. Can it make a comeback strong enough to excite investors, or will Fastly fail to impress once again? It's been a tough year for Fastly, right?
Yeah. So this is the price chart of Fastly. All right. As we
Mm,
can see, it hit a high around 140. All right. Probably towards the around October of last year, and it has been drifting down and down and down
right.
until recently. All right. But one thing I do see on the technical chart of Fastly is this.
Mhm.
As you can see, where the blue circle is, there's probably a support coming in at around 35. Technically, I'm seeing a support around 35 where the blue circle is. All right, so let me just zoom in. Also, probably because of the support, that's why Fastly has been so-called rebounding from this support. So what I do see going forward is this. If there's a resistance at this red circle over here, which is around 48.23. So if Fastly is able to break above 48.23, this red color resistance, all right,
Mhm.
we may see Fastly probably go higher towards this red circle over here, which is around 62 US dollar. All right, I do see that as a very strong resistance. Why? Because as we can see, there's a gap over here. All right, this is a very strong so-called support turn resistance. At the same time, there's this rate 200-day moving average around there as well. So this 62, that's why I say is probably going to be quite a strong overhead resistance. Also, we need to see Fastly able to take out this 48.23 red color resistance. Then
Mhm.
we may have a chance to see Fastly going higher towards a red orange circle resistance of around 62 USD. Yes.
Shares of Fastly traded last at $44.70 US cents. Now, Motley Fool says Fastly is a company that could triple in 5 years. What do you think?
Well, I can only comment on the chart wise. The level is due to watch is the 48.23 resistance, the red color resistance. Once it's broken, we may
Mhm.
hit higher to 62.
All right.
Beyond that, if we can
We
hit
got to come
62,
back.
yeah, all right.
and have another chat. All right,
Yes,
let's
correct.
talk about what we can expect with a lot of chatter about inflation. Investors have been
Mm,
wondering how to best hedge their portfolios and, have been looking to things like commodities, right? Olam International operates in the consumer retailing sector. It offers customers around the world access to basically food ingredients and agricultural commodities. What do you see when you look at Olam International's charts?
okay. First of all, I just want to say this: Federal Reserve and all the central bank, they have been saying this inflation is transitory, right? All right.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they got it wrong. All right. So it's not going to be transitory because this disruption in the so-called the supply chain is not going to go off anytime soon. All right. So I personally believe that this inflation is going to stay. All right. And in fact, we are going through a commodity bull run, and this commodity bull run, based on cycle analysis, is going to run till 2024. All right. So because of that, commodity stocks like what, like Olam in Singapore Stock Exchange, has been benefiting from it. As we can see, wow, Olam has a strong rebound, as we can see. All right, until right now, all right, a very strong rebound. So what I see from the chart of Olam is this: there's a red color so-called resistance circle resistance at around 1.79.
Mm.
Once is so-called is bullish momentum can continue and take out is 1.79 resistance, we
Mhm.
may see Olam heading higher towards there's another resistance zone at the orange circle, which is
Mhm.
around 184 to 187. All right. But if this bullish momentum can cause Olam to break above this resistance zone between 184 and 187, let's look at a longer term view. We may be able to see Olam heading higher towards this yellow circle resistance, which is around 198. All right. So as we can see, Olam has benefited from this so-called this inflation theme. That's why it has rebounded quite strongly. All right. So now is waiting for it to take out is 179 resistance as well as the 184 to 187 resistance zone. If this so-called resistance can be taken out, we may have a chance to see Olam going higher towards 198, which is where the yellow circle resistance is. All right.
All right, Olam share is currently trading at 1.7 Singapore dollars. Derick Tan has been my guest today. He's a practitioner of cycle analysis. He's founder and CEO of Timing and You. Derick, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. I hope to catch you guys again next month. All right, in November.
Money FM 89.3.